Hey guys, for this particular video, we're going to be talking about working with smart filters. Uh, First of all, you have to have an image to work with, and there's a couple of ways that you can work with smart filters. I'm going to go up to the filter menu here and point out that one of the first options that you have is convert to smart filters. Now, when you choose this option, what's going to happen is your image is going to be converted into a smart object. So again, mentioning that there were a couple of different ways that you can work. You can also, for example, go up to the layer menu and simply go down to Smart Object and then choose Convert to Smart Object. So either way, it's going to work exactly the same. So I'll just go up to the filter menu and choose Convert for Smart Filters. When I do so, this dialog box opens up letting me know that it's going to convert the image into a smart object. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. If you take a look at the layer now, it went from a background layer now to layer 0, and it has the little smart object icon down at the lower right hand side. So now when I apply a filter, the filter will be applied as a smart filter, which means that it's non-destructive, it's editable. So I'm going to go up to the filter menu and I'm going to go down to a blur option and I'm going to select a radial blur. So for this, I'm just going to simply take the blur up. I'll go to 44 and then hit OK. So it applies the blur. Now, if you take a look over at the layers panel, and I'll actually drag this over a little bit. So when we bring the layers panel out, what we'll notice is that as far as the layer goes, we have the layer, but also under it, you have the smart filter, and there's the radial blur. Now, with the radial blur being a smart filter, we can undo the effect, we can take the effect back, we can edit it a number of different ways. And let's say that the blur were too high. All I have to do is double click on the word radial blur, and that relaunches the radial blur dialog box. Now I can control the amount. So I could take it down or take it up. All right, so I'll take it down a little bit and then go ahead and hit OK. So it cuts down on the blur. Now, because I'm using the radial blur, I actually have two options. I have the radial, and then I also have the spin, and I also have the zoom. So I can select the zoom option, switch over to that, and maybe I want to take the amount up again. Go ahead and hit OK. So those are a couple of different options that we have here. So you can go back and forth and do whatever you want. One of the interesting things about the radial blur is that, first of all, it always defaults to the center point of the image. But you can move that point around. Maybe I want the zoom to go from the mouth. So I'll double click back on here again. You can click on this point here and reposition it. So if I pull it down a little bit, then go ahead and hit OK. Now I'm moving the blur from a different area. So regardless of where it occurs from, a couple of different things I want to point out here. Number one, you have a layer mask that is used specifically for your filters. So you can use any combination of filters if you wanted to. So for example, I can go back up to the filter menu. This time, maybe I want to apply, let's just say, go into the filter gallery. In the filter gallery, maybe I want to choose one of the artistic options, such as watercolor. And I don't know, why would I want to choose watercolor, but I'm going to do it anyways. And go ahead and apply it. Now the two of them are here, right? You have eyeballs for each one of them, so you can turn off the filters as you please. So I'm going to turn off the filter gallery because I really don't want that one there. But I also want to point out that right over here on the right hand side of the filter itself are these little sliders, this little icon which represents a couple of sliders. If you double click on that, it's going to open up a dialog box specifically for the filter itself. So in here you have blend modes and you have an opacity that you can adjust. These are specific to the filter, not to the layer. Okay, so I can blend the filter effect onto the layer. I can also change the opacity of it as well. Let's say that I want to choose multiply. So now I have multiply applying to the filter on top of the layer. Maybe it's a little too high, it's at 100%. I could take it all the way down to 0 so there's no effect, and then start to gradually work it back into the image. So you could do this however you like, switch to whichever blend mode that you want if necessary. All right, so I'm just going to cancel out of this, but all you have to do once again is double click on that little icon there. So again, we have the layer mask here. So I'm going to take a paintbrush and I'm going to click on the mask. I got to make sure that I'm on the mask itself. and I'm going to paint with black. And I can now selectively remove the filter effect. Okay, and you could do this with any of the layers, and if when I apply it to the layer mask here, it's going to apply to every filter. So if I turn back on the watercolor, you'll see that the watercolor is removed over the eyes and over the mouth where I painted as well. All right, I'll turn those back off. Now, this layer mask is only being applied to the filter, not to the layer. If I wanted to, I can add a layer mask to the layer and then affect the layer. So I'll go ahead and add one, take my brush once again. Now when I paint, I'm physically erasing the pixels from, well, I shouldn't say physically erasing them. I'm erasing them using the layer mask. All right, so I'm going to get rid of that, bring that back, and that's how you use your smart filters. It's very simple to work with. So I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.